Malcolm McLean started life as a poor farm boy. He worked hard during the Great Depression to create a profitable life for himself and his family. He decided to start a trucking company and quickly expanded his business. After 26 years, he sold his trucking company for $12 million. After selling his trucking company, he witnessed dock workers moving goods from a ship to another and noticed how long and tedious the process was. Deciding that there had to be a better way to transfer goods, he worked to fix the problem in the shipping world by creating shipping containers that could be lifted straight from a ship and placed into a truck for easy shipping. He took great risks and invested heavily in his new endeavor, but his investment and hard work paid off again. His new method quickly spread to all other parts of the world and is now the preferred shipping method. In 1969, he sold his new company for $160 million. His invention of the shipping container helped to speed up the process of loading and unloading goods, reduce the costs associated with transferring goods from a ship to a truck, reduce the amount of theft that occurred throughout the entire shipping process, reduce the number of damaged goods, and his new method allowed for far more goods to be loaded on a ship than before. His invention of the shipping container helped to speed up the process of loading and unloading goods, reduce the costs associated with transferring goods from a ship to a truck, reduce the amount of theft that occurred throughout the entire shipping process, reduce the number of damaged goods, and his new method allowed for far more goods to be loaded on a ship than before. Since 1956, when he introduced his first ship and shipping container, his method of moving and storing goods has spread such that nearly every transported good throughout the world is transported by his shipping containers. Malcolm McLean and containerized shipping. The article describes how he was a very worthy person for this award because he grew up as a very poor person and into a very poor family, and he worked his way up selling company after company and working very hard to develop his businesses. And it really describes how he has earned this medal because he was not born into it. He did not have a good start, but he worked his way up. On the article, The Truck Driver Who Reinvented Shipping, it describes how Malcolm McLean invented the shipping container, which allowed for mass amounts of bulk products to be shipped long distances much more quickly because it allowed for shipping to be everything to be loaded much quicker and unloaded much quicker. And it also allowed for much more long distance travel and a lot more heavier duty ships and cargo boats to be created to support these massive shipping containers. On the article LA Times, Malcolm McLean states that he does not believe his invention has caused such a big impact, despite the hundreds and thousands of people stating that it has made such a massive difference, which only goes to further show that he is a very humble person and truly deserves this award, unlike many other people.
Really, he's a hero because he made it very efficient to ship products from China, and that made products very cheap, and so Americans benefited from that. They got to buy things cheaply.
Malcolm McLean should be in the Hall of Fame because he revolutionized shipping. He, on a stroke of genius, witnessed the unloading of goods from ships onto trucks and wondered why it couldn't be done more efficiently. He figured out a way to create giant containers that could be lifted straight from ships and put straight on trucks or trains and transported directly, and making it far more efficient and quick to move the goods from one place to another. It reduced a lot of time and cost, and it also reduced the amount of thievery from people that were actually doing the moving of the goods, so they weren't able to steal as much.
Jefferson Davis, born 1808 in Kentucky, served as a U.S. Senator representing the state of Mississippi and was the 23rd U.S. Secretary of War. Davis was a plantation owner and owned dozens of slaves. He directly supported and promoted slavery as well. Davis also supported the secession of the Confederate States from the Union in 1861. His political experience combined with his support of slavery and secession quickly led to him being elected the first president and only president of the Confederate States of America. Davis's contentious personality led to many conflicts between him and his military advisors as well as Confederate political leaders. He was the face of the Confederacy and hated by most of the Union. On top of that, Davis was arrested after the fall of the Confederacy and the surrender of the Confederate Army. He was charged with treason by the Union, but was ultimately never tried. His treason and betrayal alone towards the United States is enough to justify why he belongs in the Hall of Shame. Davis's ownership of slaves and his furious personality justify this further. Very recently, according to NBC News, a statue of Jefferson Davis in New Orleans had been taken down by authorities. This monument, as well as 3 others, have been taken down recently at the request of protesters, who believe the monuments are a totem of racism and white supremacy. According to the Cleveland Civil War Roundtable, Jefferson Davis was the sole culprit of the reason why the Confederacy lost the Civil War itself. According to the article titled Confederate Tide Rising, Robert E. Lee and the Making of Southern Strategy by Joseph L. Harsh, the article, quote-unquote, says, "All we want is to be let alone." These words by Jefferson Davis seem to point toward a defensive stance by the Confederacy. This defensive stance shows Jefferson Davis's weakness towards military strategy and his inability to create a full frontal offensive against the Union, which ultimately led to his downfall and the fall of the Confederate States of America.